all the divine, the known in the unknown. And obviously, our theme is wisdom and irony. So I'll try to stick to our theme. So, welcome everyone. This story is present day and flashback. So, if there is a confusion, I apologize in advance. So, let's first start with present day 2020. Arshpreet is in her school. It's her first day, and there's a science group that's being formed. Uh, and she reaches us slightly late, and so all the groups are already formed, and there is one group which has just 3 people. A group is supposed to be of 4 people, so her professor says, those 3 boys, can you just go and join them? And apparently Arshpreet was the only girl in that science camp. For whatever reason, maybe girls are not interested in science or whatever the reason is, but she was the one in the science camp. And she sat at the table, and immediately she was condemned, rejected, made fun of, saying that I think you should just go home, learn to cook something, make your parents happy. I don't think you'll ever be an astronaut. I don't think you know anything about science. So let the men take care of this presentation, which we have next week, and you just watch the show. Obviously, she was humiliated. She was insulted. She was the child of 2020 after all. She's a millennial. She's not going to stay quiet and take all that shit, right? That's what we all think. But obviously, she had tears in her eyes, and she went, sat on the stairs of her school, not knowing what to do, goes home absolutely dejected, and is reading something about astrophysics. And her mother says, can you come in the kitchen and help me with the food? And her father says, what are you reading? This all stuff is not for you. Just go and help your mom in the kitchen. And she says, I want to be an astronaut. And her family is just not able to figure out what has happened to this little child and why is she not domesticated, as we all expect people to be. Strange, right? It's 2020. A very old grandma is looking at Arshpreet's eyes that are welling up slowly with tears. She eats half-heartedly, goes to bed, and cries herself to sleep. Her granny comes, प्यार से सर पे हाथ फेरते हुए, Beta, are you all right? She says, what do you think? People are asking me to cook here. I'm saying I want to be an astronaut, and people want me to sit and cook in the kitchen. Well, I don't mind learning it, but I also want to be an astronaut. What's wrong with that? I'll do both. It's fine. Granny says, do you know the story of Bhaago? Arshpreet says, look, Granny, you know what? Right now, I'm not in the mood for any stories. Do you think this is the time to tell me a story? I'm really upset right now. Can you tell me how do I get into the science camp? Granny smiles and says, Bhaago Kaur will make you do whatever you want in life. She says, okay, if you insist. I don't mind. Maybe it will make me sleep. You can go on with the story. Cut to 1699, where the birth, so Baisakhi is just gone last week on 13th of April, which is the beginning of spring. And in 1699, on the Baisakhi day, that was the birth of the Khalsa, where Shri Guru Gobind Singh Ji actually conferred the titles of Singh and Kaur to all the Sikhs in the community. So Singh means lion and Kaur means princess, just for anyone who didn't know about that. There was a divine nectar that he created, with all these very spiritual, ardas that he did during that time. And he gave that sweet nectar, divine nectar to everybody who was there, who are his disciples and who were brave enough to stay there. That's a story for another day, by the way. So she basically got anointed as a Khalsa on that day. And so she became Bhaago Kaur. Now, she was so inspired by the Guru that she wanted to stay back in Anandpur. Anandpur is a small city in Punjab. And that's where all of this had taken place. And she was so inspired by the whole thing that she told her father that I want to stay here and I want to fight with the Guru against the Mughals. I want to fight against the atrocities that we're going through. And her father said, Puttar, I'm sorry. You are too precious for me and I cannot give you up. So I'm sorry, you have to come back home. So they came back home to a small town near Amritsar. Few months, she learned whatever she had to learn at home and then got frustrated, came back to her father, says, I'm sorry, Dad. I just cannot do this. Either you train me or I'll train myself, but I want to fight in the army of the Khalsas, whether you like it or not. Her father smiles and says, Uttar, you are a persistent divine soul. Okay, let me train you. So her father consistently trains her for months, makes her the Khalsa she's supposed to be. And she takes everything so perfectly, does everything so well that her father is extremely proud of her. But like every other girl in 1699, obviously she had to get married to another Khalsa who was a part of the army of Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji. She was very, very influenced by all the work that Tegh Bahadur and Guru Gobind Singh Ji had done. They had actually given up so much of their family for the lives of all the other people against the Mughals at that time. Again, a very historical thing which we can discuss some other day. There was some bad news that happened. So Mughals attacked the Sikhs at that time in 1699, and all the Khalsa warriors were called by Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji saying, you have to report back to the army, just like the state. Sometimes it happens to us as well in the normal army state. They all were called back, and Bhago's husband had to go as well. So while he was leaving, she says, I'm a Khalsa. I want to go along with you. I'm trained. I can totally do this. And he says, I'm sorry. You're too precious for me. I can't let anything happen to you. I'm sorry. I can't allow you to go with me. Obviously, it's really olden days, so she had to abide by her husband's wishes, and she stayed back. And after many months, he returns back completely parched, unwell, and just fell in her arms. And she says, what happened to you? And he says, we haven't eaten now for weeks. We didn't have water for weeks. We were actually eating barks of trees because the war has elongated so much that there is nothing to do. We are completely worn out. And so we just left. You abandoned the Guru, she said. He gave his children's lives, his wife's life for us. And you just left him. And you came back. What kind of a Khalsa are you? He says, look at my status. 45 of us are back. We just can't fight anymore. Well, she says, okay, let's recover you. So he recovers for a few days. And she explains, can you go back to the Guru and talk to him? Maybe he might negotiate that we need to come to a conclusion as to not fight with Mughals, come to a middle ground. He says, okay. So he writes back to the Guru. The Guru doesn't agree, obviously. We are the Khalsas. We can't agree with that. We have to fight the Mughals against all the atrocities they were putting on us. So they come back with a letter which says that since you have abandoned the cause, you are no longer my disciple. You're no longer under the obligation to support me, and I'm no longer your Guru. It was a decree that was signed by all the folks who abandoned the Guru. Bhago was furious. She says, you abandoned him twice? Are you crazy? I'm leaving. So she takes her horse and all her armor and says, I'm going to go. You want to come with me? You come with me. Otherwise, you sit here, wear my bangles, and do the kitchen work. He's very touched. He says, no, wait. You're too precious. You're going to die if I don't go with you. Let me protect you. The usual, everybody wants to be a protector. So the husband says, okay, I'll come with you. They all go to all the 45, 46 other houses, right, of the people who had abandoned the Guru. They go, and she convinces each of the wives to send the men back to the battlefield with her. The entire herd goes to where the war was supposed to go on. But because Guru Gobind Singh Ji's wife and children were killed, he was in hiding. They did find him though, and they fought. By the time all of this happened, there was no water even for the Mughal army. There were 16,000 strong as against to these 45, 50 people, right? So you can see the kind of proportion that they were fighting with. Bhago said, today is our last day on earth. Are you ready to give your lives? Everybody says, yes, till our last drop of blood, we will fight for this day. So she leads this army into the Mughal empire. They fight viciously with one another. Bole so nihal, Sat Sri Akal, everybody said. And everybody fought their lives out. Many people got killed. Many people were hurt. Her husband died in the battlefield, and she got attacked from behind. No offense, but usually how wars end in the past are this way. She falls on the ground, and Guru Gobind Singh Ji appears and says, "Puttar, you are my child. Let me take care of you. I will heal you, and you can go back home." She says, "No, I will fight till my last breath. And my husband is dead, so this is my home. This is where I belong. Please let me fight alongside you." In all of these fights, did you know what else also happened? The Mughals actually thought that they killed Guru Gobind Singh Ji, and they didn't investigate to find his body because they were parched with no water. The soldiers were tired. They actually retreated from that war, and they had actually won that war. So Bhago's idea of getting into the war just with that number of people was successful. Guruji was alive, and so was she. Guruji healed her, brought her back to life, and she served as his bodyguard after that. That was Bhaago Kaur's story. 2020, Granny says, "So, did you see what happened to Ashpreet?" Ashpreet said, "So she was the first person allowed on the battlefield in 1699? Granny says, "Allowed? What are you talking about allowed? Women are not allowed anything. They get always what they demand for. We are all equal, so there's nothing to be allowed." Did you know how much work Guru Nanak did for women equality? So it's about how you think that you are, instead of thinking that you are supposed to be allowed to do anything. Motivated with all of this, Arshpreet next day goes on to the school and faces all the boys and says, "I have prepared a presentation about the satellite and I'm going to present this." The boys again make fun of her. Sara vyang aur hasya us pe hota hai is pe. And she's again dejected. She goes and sits, and then suddenly Bhago's image of receiving the talwar from Guru Gobind Singh Ji appears in front of her. And she says, "Yes, I'm going to be Bhaago Kaur. I'm going to be Arshpreet Kaur. I am not going to retreat." She goes back to the boys and says, and the presentation is on, right? So she becomes so audacious at that time suddenly. She goes in the middle of the presentation, corrects the presentation, the incorrect spellings written by the boys on the board, writes it correctly, and says, "Okay, I have one little to say," moves away to the podium, gives the presentation. Everybody is proud, applauds her. Her parents and granny are all there. And her father says, "हाँ, मेरी इंटेलिजेंट बेटी, मैंने तो हमेशा कहा था कि तुम्हें पढ़ाई में ध्यान देना चाहिए." I mean, look at this. Things don't change. And Granny says people, even today, are just used to following the older norms because they're just not wanting to break those barriers. They're scared of what everybody else is going to say. But don't do that. Break your barriers. Be an astronaut. Just surrender yourself to whatever your wishes are, and you will get the strength to achieve them. Thank you.